I had nothing to lose because, and I assume it's the anti-Gamergate crowd, but they tried to contact my boss. They sent an email saying that, I am involved in misogyny and harassment. And, I've been working at the company long enough. They know that that's not the case. And plus, that might work in higher education more than it works in the private sector or in government. But they were like, no, we get it. We're fine. So, I guess that was the stab at harassment there. I during airplay, someone posted my, phone number and address and whatever. But that was the extent that I got. I do wonder, and people have wondered for me, what if I was a woman, would it be different? I don't know. That's a really good question. I assume it would be worse, but who would it be worse from? Which segment of Gamergate? Because I would say probably about a quarter of all the people I dealt with were women. So not a 50-50 split, but still, that's a significant amount of women that were involved in this movement, that were definitely anti-harassment. So I don't know where that. See, like everything else, Gamergate, I'm going to shut up now, having resolved nothing in that statement.
Well, there's actually a study that's been done. I don't know about the methodology so much, but I actually linked it in my Discord. I tagged you, but it shows that self-reportedly, women who supported Gamergate claim that they've been harassed at higher rates than men who supported Gamergate. But that's self-reported. I don't know how seriously you want to take that. What is harassment? Someone sent me a mean tweet once. Is that harassment? Someone got doxxed. It's obviously a whole other level. People you got swatted. That's a whole. Well, actually, I don't think anybody ever got swatted on either side. But there's obviously different tiers of what people consider harassment. And some people might say that oh, a mean comment on Reddit, is that harassment? I don't know.
Yeah, but come on, man. I mean, if someone tells me they're going to rape me, that means
obviously there's
and a lot
lines,
more
right?
to a woman. So
Yeah,
no, I think the harassment of women, that I had a lot of arguments about that. That's not true. Yeah, it is. Just deal with it. And that's not Gamergate. That's life, right? So what I do find interesting, I've a thought experiment that I said at the time is, I really wish Anita Sarkeesian was a guy saying the same stuff in those videos, because I wonder what that would have been like. That would just been interesting to me, to gauge the different response.
Okay, so I've got another anti-Gamergate question, and we've got an anti-Gamergater in the chat on Kick who wants me to ask a question too, which I think it's a decent question. So I'll shoot the first question that the anti-gamer. This is from anti-Gamergate, not my wording, just to be clear. For many who were opposed to Gamergate, the movement was seen as a more respectable public face for the smaller quote-unquote Quinspiracy movement that it had stemmed from, whose goal was to ruin the professional reputations of certain women by pushing their sexual history to the forefront of public discussion. What would you have to say? What would you say to people who feel like Airplay and similar events only serve to further this goal and did little, if anything, to advance discussion about games media? That's an anti-Gamergate question.
No, it's a fair question too, and it's one that I struggled with, because I got a lot of shit at one point. I should look it up maybe, but I remember there was a post I wrote where it's like, Zoe Quinn was harassed. It was wrong. You have to admit that is wrong. And
1,000%.
And then Brianna Wu, the same thing. I remember getting photos showing her house, that she couldn't have been at her house at the day she said she was harassed. You have spent a lot of time, looking on Google Earth and going through to prove, why are you spending so much time to prove that she wasn't harassed? And I talked to her, and I believe that she was, because at some point you have a good bullshit meter as a journalist, and unless you're a sociopath, when you talk to someone long enough and enough times, and the story's consistent. So I believe all of that. And there was definitely a contingent, the whole conspiracy thing. They really were pissed off at her, and it was to an unhealthy level that had nothing to do with anything. And those are the people that I just stopped communicating with, not blocking them, but just every time I would talk, look, you're not adding anything new to this conversation. You obviously have an unhealthy obsession here. I don't understand it. The only part of where her sex life intersects with the journalism was, was she dating a games journalist at the time that games journalist was writing about her or her friends, and did
promoting
not
her game.
disclose that fact, or
Yeah.
promoting her game. So that is the only point that where it intersects with a larger issue. Otherwise, I don't care who she sleeps with or what she does. Publishing naked photos of her, or I guess the defense was, well, she published them. I didn't take them, but you shared them for what reason? Like, why? What were you hoping to accomplish with that? Well, everyone should know that she's a
Well, I
liar.
don't think anybody would say that, because I don't think anybody like in our
I
community
was told that.
would. I don't think anybody in our community would like support like that sort of stuff.
I had people defending all of that, or at least trying to mitigate it.
I mean, maybe it was
Not a
GG
lot.
Revolt. I don't know, but like it wasn't. It certainly wasn't the mainstream GG.
Well, see, that's that, and they got back to that. Like, how do I know? So I would just talk to enough people, and especially the women were mega uncomfortable with that demographic of GamerGate that were so focused on Quinn. I don't. I had this argument with a couple of anti-GamerGate people before they wouldn't talk to me, and it kind of harkens back to this question, which was, why are you, even if you're not talking about that, because it wasn't part of airplay, I don't really care about, except for the dating of the journalist part. This thing had an evil beginning, the evil seed from which it grew. Therefore, you shouldn't touch it. And I would respond that there's a lot of journalism that's done, or good things that happen out of evil motives at their start. That's not. I'm not going to ignore a story because it has this thing might have got its start from that jilted ex-boyfriend who couldn't fucking write. Um, Instead of ignoring the story because of that, I think we should confront the story because of that. We should call out the bullshit in that. And I tried to do that. If I have any regret, I don't know that I might have called it out enough. But if I didn't, it was because there's just so much thrown at you all the time, and I only had so many hours in the day that I was writing about so many other things that the only thing I look back upon and I wonder is, did I say it often enough on enough streams, and did I write it enough to say Brianna Wu and Zoe Quinn don't matter in this context? I had Brianna Wu help me with the Kunkel Awards, and her participation was great. She knows the gaming industry. She had a lot of good things to say. There was none of it was, ideological. It was just like, help me set up these video games. I need to, James Fudge, her, and some other people. It was great. But yeah, I would agree with the guy or the individual asking the question that none of that stuff mattered. I feel bad for any of those women that went through that. They didn't deserve it. The punishment doesn't fit the crime. Even if she did the worst things that some people told me she did, like, she's a vixen who manipulated reporters by dating them. Well, I don't blame her. I blame the journalist. It's like blaming the mistress instead of your spouse. Like, if my problem is with the journalist who dated her and didn't disclose. If anything, he did her a massive disservice by not disclosing and covering that up. He actually did harm to his girlfriend, and he didn't cause it because everyone else has agency. They did the harassing, but he certainly didn't help. And that's why there are journalism ethics, because there are unintended consequences from being unethical. It doesn't just hurt you as the reporter.
Hey, can I step away for like 2 seconds? My neighbor knocked on the door.
Well, hey, I guess I own the mic now. This is weird. I have no idea what to say. As a journalist, I have no idea what to say unless I'm having a conversation with someone.
Cool. I told her I'd get with her in like an hour. Or whatever, like some amount of time. Um, Sorry about that.
Yeah. I
It
said I
wasn't
said
it
a lot
wasn't
of
an
mean things
emergency or
about
anything.
you
It was
while you're
just.
away.
So I look. I agree. I don't care about Zoe Quinn's sex life. I don't give a shit about all of that stuff. Of course. Um, but I am interviewing somebody coming up. Probably interviewing them, and a woman who supported GamerGate. She has this view, and I think it's one that like a lot of people share. That these people lied about us for fucking years. Like, we should be able to defend ourselves against these accusations that these people fucking lied about us and built their entire careers. And Brianna Wu was making $13,000 a month in donations for a while. $13,000 a month. And she was literally posting, we have archives of this, posting posts on her own community, her own forum, harassing herself under her main account. Like, this is like proven fact. Now, you could say, if you would be super charitable, let's be charitable, that she posted the harassment against herself, which she claims, I think now, that she's been confronted about it by interviewers, is that she did it so that she could cultivate all the harassment in one topic. That was what she claimed, and then she deleted the topic later because she realized it was a bad idea. But like, look, it's fucking weird, man. These people lied about us for fucking years. Like, obviously, some people did harass, Zoe Quinn or Brianna Wu or Nia Sarkeesian or whoever. But like, the vast majority of the people involved in that weren't GamerGate people. We have studies that prove this. We have our own actions to condemn harassment. Like, I wouldn't tolerate anything like that in my space. I moderated multiple GamerGate communities. We would never tolerate that stuff. People trying to plan harassment. Like, and then when someone was harassed, like Allison Rapp, or when Brianna Wu was harassed, like, I think we responded in an ethical way. But rather than say like, okay, look, some people are bad, and like that's bad, and we shouldn't like support that, of course. Um, but like, they should have said, look. What they went to the press and they're like, oh, all the gamer gators are evil, misogynist, haters, fucking Nazi, whatever. They're evil fucking people, and we got to destroy them. That's what they went to the press and said. And it wasn't fucking true. It wasn't fucking true for 99.44%. If you want to look at the Women Action Media study, it was fucking bullshit. They fucking lied about us. That's how some people feel.
I get it. And if there was a really strong gaming press, they would have tackled that Brianna Wu story. And even if she posted some harassment of her own for a reason, that is still a great story. That's just a great story regardless. That should have been that's the kind of story that the gaming press could do that a stream really can. I mean, there's so many fascinating gaming streams since we did the Kunkel Awards that we watched, and they could do a lot of things well, game reviews and opinion and stuff. Really, what Kotaku and Polygon should have been doing was doing that investigative kind of stuff, because like Kotaku did some great. I mean, I remember they sent people to Japan to cover like some of the games being developed. It was just they did some great stories, just good stories about video games. Even if you don't like video games, they're just really good. A story about some of what you're talking about done journalistically, not ideologically, would have been great. But the mainstream media is too busy and to do that. The gaming press, that's their territory. That's what they should be doing. The question is, did they not do it because they're just not mature enough as an industry, not the individuals, but just like the gaming press isn't well developed? Or were they, and this is some evidence of this that me and Ren and Lynn found, is it that they're not mature enough to do journalism against the people they agree with? A real journalist, a kind of a seminal moment for a journalist is when you write something negative about someone you like or something you believe. Like that someone whose beliefs you agree with fucked up. Maybe unintentionally, maybe not evilly, but they've made a mistake and you have to cover it. And it gives the opportunity for the other side to say, see, they're wrong about this, they're wrong about everything. If you don't do it, you're actually not helping your own cause, because eventually it's going to come out and people are going to be more suspicious. So I don't know. And when all this stuff came up, when someone would tell me, Brianna Wu harassed herself, I said, look, you know what? I don't know. I'm not denying it. I'm not accepting it. I don't have time to look into this because I got another 6-hour stream I got to do with Oliver Campbell. But that is a story that someone should look into. And that's what a gaming journalist should be able to spend 3 or 4 days on and write a story, quoting people and doing the journalism. The problem with the studies that you're citing is I didn't have the time, and no one else wanted to do it, to go back and study your methodology to make sure that it was working. All journalists will rely on studies compiled by interest groups. I mean, most surveys are commissioned by someone with a cause. What you hope for is that when you drill down in the methodology that, you know, you can still report on it faithfully, and then you bounce it off of some other people that may be on the other side, and through that synthesis and antithesis, you come up with a story that is mostly true. That's what was lacking in the gaming press. That's why this was so difficult for me. That normally in a dispute like this, I would be able to go to a Kotaku, read something, and if I couldn't read it, I would at least be able to call them. And I do respect Stephen Totilo. He's a good journalist, but I disagreed immensely when he defended his, or he tried to kind of, it wasn't that big a deal that they dated. It just, come on. It didn't, it's called an appearance of a conflict of interest. So it wasn't a conflict. I made sure of it. People care about the appearance of a conflict of interest. That's what journalists really have to guard against. That's why we get so hoity-toity and arrogant about our lives, because we realize it's the appearance. And the appearance in the gaming press at that time really sucked.
Yeah. And I guess, as I'm doing an active journalism with this book, I should be like very qualified with my statement. You could read that post that she made as harassing herself. You could alternatively read it as I wanted people to harass me here because, according to her, according to Stardust, who did interview her, Stardust, another streamer, says that when she interviewed her, she claims that the reason that she made this post was to encourage people to keep the harassment in one area. That's why she did it. That's what her official statement is on this, as far as I'm aware. Um,
But if that
but you could
statement was made after,
years
only
later.
after being caught, then that's, I mean,
Years later.
there's a lot you could drill down on that. And it's sad that it wasn't, I'm not taking a side in that, but I wish that someone would have done the journalism so I could read up on it. And alas, it never happened.
Yeah.